People who have came close to dying, what were your last thoughts? Your shoe is untied. I said that to my dad before promptly falling down a 20-foot cliff into the underbrush. Broken arm, fractured skull, ruptured kidney. Woke up 2 weeks later to my dad saying thanks for letting him know his shoe was untied as he could have tripped. My heart stopped beating for 7 seconds while I was eating dinner in my hospital bed waiting to be discharged. I realized I was going to pass out and put my arm across my plate so I wouldn't fall face first into it. All I could think of was this is gonna make a mess. Glad they took their time with the paperwork. Ended up walking out of there 7 days later with a pacemaker at the age of 46. As I was getting the Heimlich, I remember thinking how embarrassing it would be to die at a Renaissance fair. Edit. It was the day before my 29th birthday, so I also remember being disappointed I wasn't going to make it to 30. Edit 2. Thank you all for the responses. It seems like choking at a Renaissance fair is actually pretty common. If anyone knows a cigar salesman that was working at Scarborough Fair 6 or so years ago, give him my thanks for saving my life.
Oh my God, Mom's choking!
Out of the way, I'm an EMT. Her airway's jammed. Come on now, just like that. I need some gravitational help.
Wasn't the car that hit me white? As I'm looking down at a car underneath me. I've been hit hard enough I bounced up over the car that hit me and had enough air time to clear the second one. Props to the driver of the third vehicle. He must have stood on the damned brakes the moment he saw me because he brought the cement truck to a stop before it got to me. Second time I was hit by a car as a pedestrian. I'm now much more careful crossing streets. Not that it's helped much, I seem to have a car magnet in my ass. Had a stroke last year and was taken to the ER by my brother. The last thing I remember was asking him to take a picture of me with his phone as I must look terrible. After I was admitted, I didn't remember anything other than dreams until late October, and days after I was admitted, when everything was a blank, they induced a coma so that my brain swelling would go down, and I was critical, so I presume I was pretty close to dying then.
Hey, take my photo! You wanna take my photo, you? On my you!
I was in the process of being electrocuted, having been working all day atop a scissors lift. The electricians had left a 277-volt line live, and while I was standing and reaching while running the last low-voltage run of the job, I contacted their line. I saw the white light at the end of the tunnel. All I knew was throbbing and 60-cycle noise and the white light. My last thought was, I wonder if I can tell my niece to unlock? Obviously they did, since I am here typing this. Severe electrical burns, still here living the life. Was run over by a bus last year. My thought when I went under the tires was, but it's a Wednesday.
It is Wednesday, my dudes.
Hello. Have you ever had a headache that was so bad? I mean, like call your parents and ask them if you were still on the healthcare plan? Even though you live in Canada and they live in the USA? Yes, I've had this pain. I felt as if my head was going to implode. I was half right. I had a brain clot. Then bleed. So a stroke and an aneurysm all at once. My last thought before I regained consciousness weeks later? I don't want to die in this ground-level apartment. 3 times, once almost drowning deep end of pool at 5, once trapped under flipped ATV in a river, and once being shot at by a crazy old who thought I was a deer. I thought of my mom crying every time.
All you got is your mama! Don't you understand that?
Was in a pretty severe car crash in my mid-teens. We got T-boned by a big Ford van coming home from school one afternoon. I could have swore our light was green, but witnesses said my friend went through a red. I remember looking over and seeing the van and thinking, I pretty much resigned immediately to what was about to happen. I was sitting in the front passenger seat holding on to the little handle above the door, The window blew out and I had hundreds of little cuts on my arm, neck and face. It looked like rats had been chewing at me, and I had a couple bits of glass in my hand. The passenger side door crushed in far enough to hit me and left fabric imprint all down my side, completely knocked the wind out of me, and cracked 2 ribs. After I caught my breath, I had to crawl out of the driver's side, my hand bleeding all over the place, but was so amped up on adrenaline I hardly noticed any pain. The next day I could hardly move, I was so sore. Almost my whole right side was bruised. It hurt to breathe too deeply. My friend's mom showed me pictures of the car. It was really surprising I got off as well as I did.
Flight costs go up too, so we could see fewer people driving.
Spun out right behind you. Did you see that, Adrian?
I know, I didn't, but now I did.
I was stabbed in the neck by someone robbing my house. I totally thought I was going to die. I hate myself, but I begged the guy who stabbed me to stay because I didn't want to die alone. He said sorry and walked away. That f***ing broke my heart. Thankfully he called 911 for me.
Testing a supposed knife-proof vest, a reporter in Israel was stabbed multiple times, but unexpectedly the knife actually penetrated the vest, causing a cut on his back.
Bruh.
A little over 10 years ago I had the Widowmaker heart attack. I spent the first day in the hospital with a balloon pump assisting my heart to help me stay alive until they could perform the surgery the next day. They told my wife that my chances of surviving were only about 20%. I had the priest in, family, the whole 9 yards. In the morning, as they wheeled me into the operating room, I was doing the Monty Python bit and get the machine that goes ping, in case the administrator comes by with a surgical nurse who was also a MP fan. The look on the surgeon's face was priceless, and I was chuckling as I went under. My last thoughts were, "Hey, we got this." The surgeon later told me that I was the only patient in his entire career that came into his operating room laughing, but that my attitude may have been a large factor in my survival.
Ah, I see you have the machine that goes bing!
I was gridlocked in traffic with a wildfire on both sides of my vehicle. I couldn't even touch the window, it was that hot. Our cell tower was knocked out, so I couldn't even tell my family and friends that weren't in the car that I loved them. I sat there and I was oddly peaceful. There was nothing I could do. My whole family was sweating. My little brother was crying. I was 15 and I just sat there and accepted that my life was what it was, and I didn't bother thinking about what I wished I had done differently or what I wanted to accomplish because it didn't matter. I was convinced I would die quietly with my family in a car. I couldn't think. I put my headphones in and played my favorite songs thinking maybe I could die to one of those. When traffic started moving again after a few hours, I could barely stay awake. I remember the first time I showered after the fire. There was soot running down the drain and I just cried. Since then I started telling people I love them. I decided to live for myself. I came out. I worked towards a future. I even sat at my first bonfire this year. It was horrible.
So Obama's talking about all of this with the global warming and that, and a lot of it's a hoax. It's a hoax. I mean, it's a money-making industry, okay? It's a hoax.
I was in a fight and I didn't know I was stabbed in the liver and the lung. I walked away with my friend and collapsed in an alley. I remember bleeding out with calming waves of euphoria washing over me, and I thought, I've lived enough, I'm okay with this. I blacked out and woke up in the back of an ambulance with waves of immense pain assaulting my body. Dying isn't awful, surviving is awful.
When did I get stabbed? That's awesome!
Get, 2, kitchen. Sugar, diabetic and hypoglycemia, woke up on the floor. Freezing. Drenched from sweat, hypoglycemia does that. With my dog curled around me trying to keep me warm. Luckily, your liver pumps out glycogen when your blood glucose is low. And it worked out that time. I've never told my husband about it.
What did you do? You piece of shit! Fuck you! I wanna fucking kill you!
As the car left the road and sailed into the trees, I was a very calm passenger. Oh, so this is how it ends. Interesting. I was at peace because everything was out of my hands, and I was just watching it happen.
Well, that's the end of me.
I was driving my car and I got into an accident and flipped it right when the radio changed songs. All I could think as I was upside down watching headlights come at me was, I can't believe I'm going to die listening to Demi Lovato.
I'm about to beat this bitch up.
Subscribe to Reddit for more Reddit videos, and also, if you have a funny or bizarre story, Leave it in the comments to get featured in a video. Thanks for watching.